So picture this. It's late April 2026. A junior developer sits down at their desk, right?
Right.
But instead of actually writing a single line of code, they just spend their entire day approving work that was submitted by a machine.
Yeah, exactly. And meanwhile, deep in some server farm, an AI model is just secretly writing, compiling, breaking, and fixing its own logic loops.
All before a human even looks at the screen. Welcome to the Agentic Era.
It really is a complete flip in the paradigm. Like, we aren't just sitting around waiting for a cursor to blink anymore. The
Right.
software is executing these full, complex workflows while we sleep. It fundamentally changes the value of human input.
Totally. Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We have an absolutely massive stack of sources to get through today.
Oh, yeah. A really fascinating mix this time.
For sure. We're pulling from Google Cloud Next 26 announcements, some fresh Q1 venture capital reports, infrastructure diaries from Cube Simplify, and even this sweeping new legislative bill out of Connecticut.
Which is a huge deal, by the way.
It really is. So our mission today is to decode this monumental shift. Like, if you listening have felt overwhelmed by the sheer avalanche of AI news recently.
Yeah.
I mean, we had, what, 8 major model releases drop in a single week?
Yeah, just an absurd pace.
Right. So we are going to cut through all that noise. We're exploring exactly how AI is changing from, a tool you use to a partner that acts on your behalf.
And looking at the macro level indicators in these VC reports, it's clear this goes far beyond just an incremental software update.
Like, it's not just a new feature drop.
Exactly. Everything from corporate infrastructure to basic legal liability is just being rapidly rewired for autonomous systems.
Okay, so let's start with what is actually changing on your desktop right now. Google Cloud Next just officially declared the shift to this quote-unquote agentic era.
Right, with their Gemini Enterprise Agent platform.
Yes, and Agent Studio. Plus, Microsoft just made Copilot's agentic capabilities generally available across Office.
Which means the AI is no longer just sitting in a sidebar answering trivia questions.
Right, it's restructuring your entire document. It's generating pivot tables, sending emails on its own. And on the creative side, we're seeing Luma agents handle complete marketing campaigns.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Text, video, images, all autonomously coordinated from just a single brief.
It's wild. But wait, let's unpack this for a second. I got to push back. Isn't an agent just, I don't know, a glorified macro?
Yeah.
Or like a really smart search box?
A lot of people think that, yeah.
Because it sounds like we just went from a really smart dictionary to an intern who, actually writes the report. How is this genuinely new?
So what's fascinating here is the underlying mechanism. It's this technical breakthrough called self-verification.
Self-verification, okay.
Right. Previously, the fatal bottleneck for autonomous AI was error accumulation. Like, if an AI attempted a 10-step task and hallucinated slightly on step 3...
A whole thing derails.
Exactly. That error compounds exponentially. So by step 10, the output is complete garbage, and you need a human to just babysit the whole process.
But with self-verification, it's moving past that simple chain of thought prompting.
Yes. It essentially splits into multiple sub-agents. One instance writes the code, and a completely separate adversarial instance is actively trying to break it.
Wait, they argue with each other.
Literally, they argue, they find logical flaws, and they rewrite the bad paragraphs before it ever even hits your desk.
That is insane. So junior developers are now essentially acting as editors for these agents. I mean, Cursor 3 just launched as a fully agentic interface, right?
Yeah, alongside Claude Code running Opus 4.7's new X-High effort level. And the benchmarks show this adversarial loop is highly effective.
Like the Osworld V benchmark.
Exactly. OpenAI's GPT 5.4 just scored 75% on that benchmark.
Which is huge, because for you listening, Osworld V isn't just trivia. It asks the AI to open a virtual web browser, navigate a CRM, extract customer data, and paste it into a spreadsheet.
It's unstructured knowledge work.
And the human baseline for that is only 72.4%.
Yeah.
So the AI is beating the average professional human baseline.
Consistently, for the very first time.
Okay, but hold on. If GPT 5.4 is self-verifying, running these internal arguments for a single task, doesn't that just absolutely obliterate the compute budget?
Oh, it does. You aren't just generating one output. You're running the model 5 or 6 times to get to the final answer.
So the costs must be astronomical.
The compute demand is staggering, and the financial markets are aggressively restructuring to support it.
Let's talk about the venture capital side, because the Q1 2026 report is just eye-watering.
An all-time record of $300 billion in global startup funding, and 80% of that went directly into AI.
Wow, 80%.
The market understands that if these digital agents can reliably execute full workflows, the financial upside totally dwarfs the compute costs.
And that capital concentration is driving some truly wild consolidation. Like, SpaceX is reportedly weighing a massive $60 billion acquisition of Cursor.
Or at least a $10 billion deep-level partnership, yeah.
Right, because they want to integrate Cursor's agentic interface directly with their Colossus supercomputer.
Which already has the computing power of, what, roughly 1 million Nvidia H100 chips?
Exactly. But parallel to that mega deal consolidation, we're also seeing the end of exclusivity.
Oh, absolutely. The famous 7-year exclusivity deal between Microsoft and OpenAI, just completely rewritten.
So OpenAI is essentially a free agent now.
They are. Until recently, if you were building on OpenAI, you were pretty much locked into Azure.
But now they can run natively on any cloud provider. So if I'm a developer running Kubernetes workloads, this decoupling fundamentally reshapes my cloud stack.
Your choice of cloud provider isn't dictated by your frontier AI model anymore.
That freedom is great, but honestly, it introduces a massive layer of complexity for anyone listening. If you're managing a business, how do you even choose a model anymore?
It's tough when a new one drops every few weeks.
Right, we had 8 major releases in 1 week. Claude Opus 4.7, GPT 5.5, DeepSeek V4, which, by the way, immediately triggered a massive price war.
Oh, huge price war. And don't forget Alibaba's Qwen 3.6.
Exactly. So how do you manage that?
The industry consensus has rapidly shifted to model-agnostic routing.
Okay, break that down for me.
Basically, you deploy a hybrid approach. The open-weight models, the ones you can download and run locally, have gotten incredibly capable.
So you keep your highly sensitive data strictly on local models like Qwen 3.6.
Right, or those new Japanese government Genai templates that were recently open-sourced.
And then what?
Then you implement an abstraction layer, a router. It automatically filters your tasks, keeping simple data extraction local, and sending only the most complex reasoning tasks out to the expensive frontier models.
Like GPT 5.5 or Gemini 3.1 Pro. But I got to challenge the practicality of that. How does the router actually know if a task is complex before trying to solve it?
It's a valid question.
Doesn't adding a middleman create a massive latency nightmare for the user?
Not anymore. The mechanism there is predictive classification. The router isn't trying to solve the problem, it's just evaluating the perplexity of the prompt.
Perplexing.
Yeah, it calculates in milliseconds the statistical likelihood that a local model will fail. If that score crosses a threshold, it offloads it instantly. The latency is practically negligible compared to the cost savings.
Oh, okay. So we have highly capable local models and routers managing the flow, which brings us to the infrastructure crunch.
Yes. You can't deploy millions of these digital interns without paying for the electricity and the silicon to keep them running.
Right. For years, the story was all about the massive cost of training models. But now, it's shifting, right?
The bottleneck has officially transitioned from training to inference.
So if training the AI is like sending it to college, a massive upfront cost inference is paying its daily salary while it works.
That's a great way to look at it. And right now, the global salary bill is just skyrocketing. Inference now makes up roughly 60 to 70% of all AI compute demand.
Wow. And the hardware market is scrambling to adapt. I mean, Google launched the TPU-8i, which is specifically optimized for inference, right?
Delivering an 80% improvement in performance per dollar. And Huawei just rolled out the 950 PR inference chip.
Seeing massive pre-orders from enterprise clients. But it isn't just throwing more silicon at the problem. The software itself is shedding weight.
Yes, the 6x memory compression algorithm from Google.
Let's unpack the math behind that. Because compressing a massive neural network by a factor of 6 without, lobotomizing its reasoning capabilities, that sounds like science fiction.
It sounds impossible, but it relies on extreme quantization and dynamic parameter offloading.
Meaning what, exactly?
Instead of storing the weights in high-precision 16-bit formats, it compresses them down to 2-bit or even 1.5-bit formats on the fly.
While the model is actively thinking.
Exactly. It identifies which pathways are strictly necessary for the immediate task and temporarily drops the rest.
So a model that used to need a whole expensive server rack can now run on much smaller hardware. The economics just completely flip.
They drop by 80%.
Okay.
But, the cost of daily inference is still trickling down. Look at GitHub Copilot.
Right. They just shifted to usage-based token billing.
Charging per thought.
Literally. Every time your agent runs one of those adversarial self-verification loops, developers are paying a microtransaction.
And this inference boom is bleeding heavily into the physical world, too. The VC reports detail massive mega rounds pouring into humanoid robotics.
Driven by the $1.5 trillion global labor shortage.
Exactly. Investors see agents generalizing across digital tasks and realize the same reasoning applies to physical robotics in manufacturing.
But here's where it hits a wall. Power. Running inference at this scale requires staggering amounts of electricity.
The venture capital world is in a state of high anxiety over fusion energy right now.
Pouring unprecedented capital into fusion startups because these data centers need infinite clean power like yesterday.
But fusion physics does not care about a venture capital timeline. A commercial grid-scale fusion plant is still decades away.
Right. And VC operates on a strict 10-year fund cycle. So they're building an infrastructure demand curve that the current energy grid simply cannot support.
It's a massive friction point.
Which perfectly segues into our final section, the guardrails, because we have these highly capable algorithms acting like autonomous middle management.
Draining power grids to negotiate spreadsheets?
Yeah. So what happens when one of them hallucinates a breach of contract or systematically fires the wrong demographic of employees?
Who takes the blame? Right. We have formally entered the execution and legal risk phase.
The primary question isn't will the tech work anymore, it's how do we legally contain it?
Governance and compliance are now the fastest growing sectors in the AI stack. Microsoft just launched the Agent Governance Toolkit as an open source standard.
And that automatically maps the agent's actions directly to the EU AI Act, AMEBRA, and SOC2 compliance standards in real time.
Yes. And on the structural side, Google's Kubernetes engine team released AMS.
Oh, this scanner is fascinating. It's designed to verify the integrity of open-weight models, right?
Yes, by scanning the structural geometry of the model's activation space.
Let's dig into that conceptual leap. Are we talking about looking at the actual mathematical shape inside the neural network while it thinks?
Exactly that. And AI's understanding of, say, malicious code occupies a specific multidimensional vector space.
Yeah.
So if a bad actor intercepts an open-weight model and tries to strip out its safety guardrails, they physically alter the geometric arrangement of those vectors.
And AMS acts like a topographical map to detect that warp before the model is deployed. That is incredible supply chain security.
It is. But even with topological scanners, the legal reality is aggressively catching up to the deployers.
Which brings us to Connecticut's new legislation, Senate Bill 5. This is a sweeping mandate regarding the use of AI in employment and hiring.
It establishes strict liability for employers utilizing automated systems.
And we need to make this incredibly concrete for anyone listening who manages a team.
Right. It's not a hypothetical anymore.
Under SB 5, if you deploy an autonomous HR agent and it misreads a Slack message and initiates a termination, the law views that action as if you personally walked up and illegally fired that employee.
100%. The liability does not transfer to the software vendor. The human deployer is on the hook.
Plus, the bill mandates that candidates must be explicitly notified about the AI and the exact data being analyzed.
And here's the trap. Simply running a generic anti-bias test on your AI does not legally shield you from liability if the agent later acts autonomously in a biased manner.
That is a terrifying contradiction for any enterprise. The tech sector is pushing tools that let you take your hands off the wheel.
But the law is pointing directly at the operator and saying you're tethered to every micro-decision the machine makes.
Wow. Okay, let's pull all these threads together because we have covered a tremendous amount of ground today.
We really have.
We explored the shift from reactive tools to self-verifying autonomous agents. We examined the infrastructure pivot from training to the daily grind of inference, and we unpacked how the legal net is tightening.
The landscape is shifting under our feet.
So here is my challenge to you listening. Audit the tools you use every day. Are you merely tacking AI features onto your legacy processes, treating frontier models like glorified dictionaries? Or are you actively redesigning your workflows to let the AI take full ownership of the execution?
Because that distinction is the line between surviving the old era and thriving in the agentic one. And if I can add a final thought here.
Please do.
Consider the macro environment we are constructing. We have AI agents capable of verifying their own logic, utilizing toolkits to manage their own compliance, and seamlessly interacting across decentralized networks.
Right.
We are rapidly approaching an event horizon where the vast majority of global internet traffic and B2B transactions won't involve human input at all. It will just be AI agents negotiating, verifying, and executing contracts with other AI agents. In the near future, your primary role might not be managing human employees, but operating as a high-level architect of a machine-to-machine economy.
Oh, man. You aren't just clicking the new button on the software update anymore. You are managing the machine that clicks the button for you.
Exactly.
Thank you so much for diving deep with us today into the agentic era. It is a wild time to be building and a wild time to be learning. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.